My name is Melanie, and thank you all for coming today to our 5th annual counselor convening, our 2nd virtual counselor convening. Before I give you an overview of the San Diego Foundation and start the presentation, I'm going to kick it to the director of our scholarships program, Danielle, to introduce herself. You're on mute, Danielle.
Yep, I knew that. A year and a half. Thanks everyone for joining today. I'm Danielle, and I think I'm looking at the names, and so many of your names look familiar, but just in case, I am the director of the scholarships program here. I've been here at the foundation 10 years now, and this will be my 8th season in scholarships. So we really appreciate your time. This is our Train the Trainer session so that you feel empowered enough to work with your students on the scholarship when we launch on December 1st. It's coming up quickly, and you spend more time with students probably than anyone else. So we really appreciate your attendance here. We are a team of 3. Besides Melanie, we have our other colleague, Jessica, who isn't here today. She actually works on the application and with our volunteers who make selections in the spring. So today, what we'll be going over is not only the common scholarship application and any changes that may have happened between this year and last year, but also our website's resources. So there's a lot of resources on there that will help you with any questions you may have. And of course, myself and Melanie are always here too. So I'll give it back to you, Melanie.
Thank you, Danielle. And one thing I do want to mention is throughout the presentation, if you have a question, you can just put it in the little Q&A chat, and Danielle will be answering all the questions in there. Again, thank you for coming. My name is Melanie, and this is my 3rd year, or going into my 3rd year on the scholarships team. As a scholarships administrator, I serve as the primary contact for students, schools. So that means I spend a lot of my time fielding questions, resolving payment issues, and building our base of applicants and recipients. My main role during this season is to reach out to counselors, advisors, and stakeholders to make sure that you all have the resources that you need to educate your students about our scholarships. I'm just going to give a little brief overview about the San Diego Foundation. So we have been around for 46 years, and our scholarship program is going into its 25th season. Since its inception in 1997, the program has grown from 21 funds and 33 scholarship recipients granted out. And now we're about at 140 scholarship funds, and we have granted out to over 1,200 scholarship recipients with more than 3.3 million granted out, all of that just within the last season. All of our scholarship funds are donor driven. So they all have unique criteria, which allows us to offer awards to a wide range of students in San Diego County. The majority of our recipients and our applicants are high school seniors, but we do have several scholarships for current college students, graduate students, trade, vocational, adult reentry. Our scholarships cover mostly any type of post-secondary schooling, but many do not require a high GPA. So many of our donors are looking to support students that we call diamonds in the rough. While our most obvious role is to administer the program, our larger vision is to help ensure educational equity for San Diego students. Much of our focus is on low-income, first-generation, and underrepresented students, and the data that our team collects on our applicants is a navigator towards that vision. The cost of college is so much more than tuition and fees, as we all know, and we are working with our donors so that their criteria is helping meet those needs. As you can see on this first slide, it has our scholarship application dates. So just like Danielle said, we launched December 1st, which is a Wednesday, and our deadline is February 2nd of 2022 at 2 p.m. on the dot, and that is a Wednesday as well. So just some history about the Community Scholarships Program. We offer scholarship funds through our platform called Smarter Select. That is where our application is and where the students will be applying to all of their scholarship opportunities. All of our applications are audited for eligibility by our staff and read and reviewed by our volunteer committees. Most heavily weighted evaluation criteria varies by each individual scholarship fund that we have here at the San Diego Foundation. And our primary program goal is to award to applicants to whom a scholarship would make the greatest impact in their community. So we're going to start from the very beginning. If you type in the San Diego Foundation to your internet browser, it will bring you to this page. You will hover your mouse over the Students tab, as you can see highlighted in blue there around the top of it. And then in that little green circle, you would click, or your students would click, the Common Scholarship application. Right now, what we have on there are the important dates as resources, but come December 1st at midnight, when you click on that, then there will be a button there saying apply here for the Common Scholarship application. And everything on that page right now is up to date, and you'll see later on in the presentation. One thing that I do want to mention is, as you can see, the Students tab is at the top. Right above that, it says log into my fund. For some reasons, we do have a lot of students. I know they can get easily confused. They like to click that and then they put in their information. We do try and redirect them right there in the red font for them to go to the Common Scholarship application. If the student does fill out that form, which is for our donors, then our development team does a great job giving us daily to weekly exports of the students who they think are students, and they send it to the scholarships team, and then we reach out to them. But we do like to mention students should not be trying to open up a fund. They should be going to the Students tab and clicking on the Common Scholarship application link. And like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box as well. So before beginning, this is the very first page that students will see once they get onto Smarter Select. I know it's always tempting to skip through all of this text and go straight to that little green button at the bottom that says Begin Search, but ultimately this information will save students time. Students should ensure that they have all requested academic, financial, and personal information. I do want to mention that the FAFSA or the California Dream Act is a requirement for our application, because we do ask for the student aid report that comes from their FAFSA or California Dream Act. So students should hopefully already be filling that out since it opened October 1st. It will take a couple of days or weeks for students to get their student aid report back after they fill out their FAFSA or California Dream Act. And sometimes students get that back past the deadline. So please ask your students to start that as soon as possible, since it is a requirement. Students should be willing to devote around 3 to 4 hours to complete the application forms. The great thing is the student doesn't have to finish it all in one sitting. They can save and come back later. I do want to direct your attention to what I've highlighted in the yellow box. This is really important, and this saves a lot of our students' times. When a student fills out one application, the information will automatically copy to all of their applications. So they will just have to fill out one, and it will auto-populate to the rest of the scholarship opportunities that they want to apply for. However, the students must go to the end of each scholarship and click the green Submit button. So if a student just fills out one application and submits it and thinks, okay, I'm done, it's auto-populated into the rest, unfortunately, only that one application will count as submitted, and the rest would be incomplete just because the student didn't go into that physical application and just go all the way to the bottom to submit the application there. So that's something that's very important as well. And this page also reminds the student that it's due February 2nd at 2 p.m. So after they begin their search, then they go to our matching slide. This section is designed to help applicants find awards which they qualify for at the basic level. So unique applications within our Common App are often restricted based on ethnicity, geography, their current school status. So this process will narrow down a student selection of applications based on their criteria. As I mentioned in our introduction, we have around 140 scholarship opportunities this year, and it would probably take a student quite a while to go through every single opportunity to see which ones they meet the criteria for. So this matching process does it for them. It narrows down and filters out exactly what scholarships could meet their criteria. So as you can see here, we asked for their school fall level in 2022. Most of our applicants being high school seniors, they would put incoming college freshmen there, their attendance status for the fall, whether they're part-time or full-time, their current school status, their current or former high school district. That's important because some of our scholarships are unique to specific schools or school districts. We do want to know the citizenship status of our applicants. All of this information is completely confidential, but some of our scholarships Criteria is for US citizens, some are for residents, and some don't care what the citizenship status is. We're just making sure that the student is meeting 100% of the scholarship application criteria that they are filling out. We have foster youth status on there because we do have some scholarship opportunities for current and past foster youth. Ethnicity, there is one with a drop down asking if students, if their parents are employed by any of the following. I think there's around 3 or 4 drop down there. That's just for some companies and organizations that have scholarship funds with us. So that won't apply to a lot of our applicants. And then we do want to know the intended and declared major of this student. Again, some of our scholarships are specific to STEM or to teaching or to nursing. So we just want to make sure that the student is filling out the scholarship application that is 100% of the criteria for that student. This will help the student narrow down all of the scholarships that meet their criteria. After the student has answered those preliminary questions, applicants can look through the list of scholarship funds and determine whether they meet all of the criteria by clicking that View Details button. So as you can see here as the example, it says program search results. With the information I put in, it said return 17 scholarship opportunities for that student. We can only narrow so much and ask just certain matching questions. So just like I said, the student does need to click that View Details button so that they can look at the criteria just to make sure they meet 100% of that scholarship's criteria. If they do, you will see to the left of the scholarship opportunity, there's a little box, and some of them have check marks in them. I've check marked those because that's just an example stating I do want to fill out those scholarship applications. If the student does not meet 100% of the criteria, then they would not check mark that box. And this is just another little close-up. As you can see, we give just a little summary of that scholarship, but we do want the student to click that View Details button because it will lead them to this page. So here's our example of a program. As you can see, the View Details button, we have a lot of information on here that is really useful for the student. We have the program name, we have a description of that program or scholarship opportunity. Sometimes there's a background on the donor as well. And then as you can see, we have requirements. So all of those bullet points is the criteria requirements for that specific scholarship. So that's where the student really needs to be making sure that they meet every single one of those bullet points. Something really cool that we put on there is what the scholarship may be used for. For example, this scholarship can be used for tuition, books, fees, room and board, and other educational expenses. So other educational expenses could mean transportation, whether that is gas while the student is going to school or coming back from school, bus passes, laptops, childcare while the student is in school. If the student is going to school for nursing, that their educational expenses could pay for their scrubs. So normally the school will email us and ask if they don't know what it covers. Another thing that would be very helpful for the student, you can see in the other little highlighted box, is required additional materials. Now, this specific scholarship requires a letter of recommendation. Not all of our scholarships do. There's just a handful that actually require that. And I'll show you later how simple it is how it is for a student to fill out to request the recommender to upload their letter of recommendation on Smarter Select. This is cool because if a student does click the View Details, which they should be doing, this will kind of give them a heads up. Okay, this specific scholarship needs a letter of recommendation, so I need to be prepared to know who I'm going to ask that letter of recommendation from, so I can give them a heads up that they're going to be getting a request soon from me. We also have the average number of awards that this certain scholarship gives out and the amount. I also do want to put out there that if students do receive multiple awards from the San Diego Foundation, the most that they can receive is 5 through us. And then I do want to go over just for 1 second over awarding, which you guys have probably heard that term before. When we have scholarship recipients receive scholarships through us, they're considered outside scholarships to the schools that they are going to. We do put on their award letter that we do not want to disrupt any institutional aid that the student is receiving currently from their school. So we do ask that schools send us back any unused funds. We ask the school to please apply as much as they can to the student's account, but if there are unused funds, then they do need to send them back to us. So that's just something I do want to cover, since that happens every once in a while with some of our students. Again, this is that view details page, very helpful for the student, just to make sure that they do meet 100% of that criteria for the scholarship opportunity. So once the student has checked marked the boxes for the scholarships they want to apply for, then it brings them to the My Applications page, their home page, the student dashboard. This is the page the student is going to see every time they log back in to their applications. Now, this page is really important because it does show the statuses of their applications. Like I said before, if a student fills out one application, it auto-populates to the rest, but you do see different statuses there. You can see one says submitted. That means the student filled out the application and they click the submitted button at the end. One says incomplete. The application is completely filled out. The student has gone in, but they have not hit that green submit button at the bottom of the application. And then the status that says not started, the student hasn't even gone into that application, even though it is 100% filled out. They need to go in and they need to hit that green submit button. One status I do want to mention that is very important that is not on here is pending. Just like I mentioned before, some of our scholarship opportunities do require a letter of recommendation. So when a student does send the request through Smarter Select, if the recommender has not uploaded their letter of recommendation, then that status will say pending. So the student will know that the recommender has not uploaded yet if that status does not say submitted yet and it says pending. This helps the student remind the recommenders, hey, remember I sent your request to upload a letter of recommendation. Remember, your deadline is on February 2nd at 2 p.m., just like mine. The recommenders, when they do get that email request, it lets them know all of the information and their deadline as well. And then the recommender will upload it through the email that they receive. We also do send reminders near the deadline of the Common Scholarship application. If our team sees some pending statuses, we actually go in and get all of those recommenders' email addresses and we start sending them reminders as well. It's really sad when we see a student not be eligible for a scholarship application just because a recommender did not get their letter of recommendations in on time. So again, this is the student's dashboard, and this is what they will see every time they log back into Smarter Select to finish their applications. One thing that is new this year is a media release that we have on there. We have a media release because in the past, we have our recipients actually send thank you letters to their donors. One cool thing that we started last year and we are continuing this year is thank you videos. We had our recipients record 15-second to 30-second videos to their donors, just thanking them for their scholarships. So this is what that media release is for, just to verify that the student is okay with us sending that to their donor or using it for any marketing materials. The dropdown, I couldn't take a screenshot of the dropdown, but the three options, since most of our applicants, I think, are under the age of 18, we do have the option for the parent or guardian of the minor to sign right there or type in their signature and put their date. If the student does not want us to release anything about them, then they also do have the option to click on there that they do not authorize the Standing Foundation to use or reproduce any of their information too. So this is the one thing that is new in our application this year. And again, this is because we have sent thank you letters to our donors in the past, and we see that our donors really do appreciate it. So the first part of our scholarship application is the student's demographics. So after reviewing the media release, the application will ask for demographics, some things like ethnicity, birth date, citizenship status, and so on. All of these things do not factor into the application score whatsoever. Once again, this is just to make sure that the student is meeting 100% of the criteria. Some of our scholarship opportunities are specifically for foster youth. Some are specifically for maybe US citizens, or it doesn't matter if they're US citizens. So we just want to make sure that that student's demographic is meeting 100% of the scholarship criteria for the scholarship that they are filling out. Okay, the second part is current academics. This is more straightforward as long as students remember their school's official name and the district that their school is in. I know sometimes this can get complicated with charter schools or continuation schools. So we do ask that if students are unsure of their school district or official school name, that they double check online or with their teacher or their school, just to make sure that they are filling it out correctly. Just like demographics, some of our scholarship applications are specific to certain schools or school districts. So we just want to make sure that the student is filling out the correct application for the school that they are currently going to. Next, we have fall educational plans. This is another factor for us to determine eligibility. So you can see on here, we ask, just kind of like in the matching process, we ask what their school level is for the fall 2022. We ask for their attendance status. Some of our scholarships do require students to be full-time students, and some do not have that requirement, and they're okay with their recipients being part-time students. We do want to know what degree they're planning on pursuing in the fall. We want to know what their anticipated graduation date is. Just like in the matching process, we want to know what their intended or their declared major is. And we do want to know what their intended specialty is and intended career. As you can see right in the middle, we do have first choice school or college. We ask for the students' first, second, and third choice of the school they plan on attending in fall of 2022. Once again, we do have specific scholarships that are specific towards schools. For example, we do have one that is specific to SDSU. If the student does not put that their first, second, or third school choice is San Diego State University, then unfortunately they are not eligible for that scholarship, since that scholarship is specifically to that school. So once again, this fall educational plans, this is just another factor to help us determine eligibility as well. And this is our finances slide. Like I mentioned earlier, the FAFSA or the California Dream Act is a requirement for a common scholarship application. As you can see on the left where it says replace file, that is where the student would upload their student aid report, or what we like to call as the SAR. On the student aid report, that will have the student's expected family contribution, or EFC. So as you all probably know, the EFC is just a financial aid formula. Belief a family should be able to pay for 1 year of a child's college education. So we do want the student to fill out the FAFSA or the California Dream Act as soon as possible, since it does take a couple of days. And I've even heard some students say weeks for them to get that student aid report back, upload onto our application, and then for them to put the EFC on the application. Now, since the FAFSA and California Dream Act are from the 2020 taxes, we completely understand that this is 2021 and some things might not parallel what that number means. So we do have an opportunity for the student to write other financial circumstances that might be happening that does not reflect in the number that they put for their EFC. I just have an example. Parents retired last year. They could have had a parent that lost a job. So we do want to give students the opportunity to be able to write something there if that number does not reflect what is currently happening financially in that student's life. We also ask for the student if they are dependent or independent. Most of our students are dependent since most of them are high school students. And then we do ask for the applicants, if they are dependent, what their parents' marital status was last year in 2020, what the household income or who it was earned by. And then we do ask for AGI, even though our scoring is not based on AGI, it is based on their EFC. After finances, we have extracurriculars, community service, and work experience. So we asked for all three of those information back since January 2018. So that's about 4 years of high school. Each student has 4 opportunities in each section to list 4 extracurriculars if they have 4 work experiences, or 4 community services. As you can see, just like the finances section, we do have an option for a student to write if they had limited availability for activities. We understand if students, they need a part-time job, or maybe they have a large family and after school they go home and help babysit their family. So we do give students the opportunity to write that as well. One thing I do want to mention is that one activity or job should not be used more than once across those 3 categories. So extracurricular activities, I want to mention that is something that the student does for themselves, whether it is playing a sport, soccer, or a club at school, while community service is something that students do for others, tutoring other students, helping volunteer somewhere. So I know a lot of the time students might get those 2 mixed up, and that could be something that they could know that can differentiate between those 2. The last part of our application after extracurriculars, work experience, and community service is our personal statements. So we do have 2 prompts this year for our personal statements. We had 2 prompts last year as well. One is a short answer and one is a short essay. These are the same exact prompts that we did have last year. Nothing changed, and I will go over what the prompts are right now. So our short answer prompt, you can see it is a minimum of 100 words. And our short answer prompt this year is, if you have decided on your educational and career goals, describe them and explain how your interest in these goals have developed. If you have not yet decided on your educational and career goals, describe some possible goals and explain how you might explore and decide on them. Now for their short essay, they do have 2 options. They just need to pick one. They do not have to fill out both of them. So their first option is explain how an important personal accomplishment, challenge, or experience has impacted your life. What did you learn and how will you apply this lesson in the classroom or community? Our next option is describe an example of your leadership experience and what you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. So evaluators are looking for evidence of student growth, if a student had overcome any adversity or roles in leadership. One thing I do want to mention is these personal statements, these allow our students to turn their application into a narrative. So we weigh heavily on their personal statements. This is something that the students should be putting a lot of effort into. Our evaluators, some of them have been around with us for a very long time, and they can point out if a student has rushed through their application and their personal statement, or they can point out what if just English is their second language. That's fine. We do ask that students work hard on these personal statements and are not rushing through them. So the last part the student is going to see after filling out their whole application is once again verifying eligibility. So as you can see here on the left, all of those yes, no questions, those yes, no questions are the bullet pointed criteria you saw in the view details, just put into question form. So the student should be clicking yes on every single one of those if they do meet 100% of the criteria. If they click yes, then a little notification is going to come up saying, great, it looks like you're eligible for this scholarship. If they click no on one of them, that means they do not meet the criteria, and something is going to pop up saying, oops, it looks like you do not meet the criteria for this scholarship. Another thing I do want to mention on this slide is that letter of recommendation I mentioned earlier. So if a student is filling out a scholarship application that does need a letter of recommendation, then at the very end of their application is where they're going to fill out their recommender's information. And it's very easy. As you can see here, we just ask for their contact's first name, last name, and the contact's email address. So the student does need to make sure that they have the correct email address. I want to mention that the student should let the recommender know ahead of time they're going to be receiving an email through Smarter Select. That is very important because sometimes Smarter Select emails go into the junk or the spam of the recommender. And then the recommender, if it doesn't go into junk and spam and they see an email from Smarter Select, they might not know what that means. So the student should give the recommender a heads up that they will be sending them a request for a letter of recommendation for that specific scholarship. I do want to reiterate, the letter of recommendations are all due February 2nd at 2 p.m., just like the scholarship applications. At 2 p.m., the platform closes. If we do get emails after 2 p.m. with letter of recommendations, unfortunately, we will not take them, and that student will not be eligible for that scholarship opportunity. So recommenders letter of recommendation is the same exact deadline as the student's application deadline. So after the student does verify their eligibility, if they have a letter of recommendation, they send it, then they will submit their application. So remember, they need to go through every single application, verify their eligibility, and click that green submit button. Once they do, they will get a success notification coming up, and applicants will receive an email and a text if they put their number in, saying that they completed their application. Throughout the whole application period, I will be sending out reminders to students who have incomplete or not started applications. Sometimes I do weekly emails, and closer to the deadline, I start doing daily emails to those students who do have incomplete applications. Decisions are sent out on a rolling basis via email only. So if a student is a recipient, they will be getting that information via their email address, not through Smart or Select. Their email address from the San Diego Foundation is when they would be getting that notification. And like I just said, that would be on a rolling basis. I want to say maybe March through May would be the timeline. One more thing I want to point out that isn't necessary, but I think is important, is that print application you see under success. I think the student should click that. They don't necessarily have to print it. I know some students, just like myself, we don't have printers. So when they click that, they can save their application actually as a PDF on whatever desktop they are working on. This might come in handy for any other applications they are filling out when they have their essays written on our application. This also might come in handy just in case for some reason on our end, we don't see their application as submitted, which has never happened, but then the student will have proof that they filled out their application. So that might be important for the student to do. So that is our Common Scholarship application. Nothing has changed since last year. We just had that one edition of the media release. I do want to go over a timeline, and this is on our website as well. At the end of October, we finished all of our Common Scholarship application scholarship flyers. So if you did not get that email from me, please email me after this, and I can send you all of the flyers that we have for our scholarship opportunities. Yesterday and today, we had our virtual counselor convenings. December 1st at midnight is when we launch, and then February 2nd at 2 p.m. is when the application closes. Same with the recommenders. March through mid-May is when the volunteer committees evaluate our applications, and that is when we are sending out notifications to students on a rolling basis. And late May, scholarship application numbers are available to you guys upon request if you do want to know certain information about your students and their scholarship processes. And then by June, all of the students are notified of their awards if they have received them or have not received them. So when I took you to our website at the very beginning, and in that little green circle, you can click Common Scholarship application. Right now, this is what shows. It shows who's eligible for our applications. It shows the important dates that I went over just on the previous slide, the opening date, the deadline date, and then when applicants are notified. And then we do have some great resources on there. Right now, it's all up to date. You can see the first resource is Community Scholarships Criteria. You can click on that now and a PDF would come up, and that shows all of the scholarship opportunities that we have right now. It is a pretty long PDF since we have 140 scholarship opportunities. So if you are looking for something specific and have a keyword, I would recommend you do the Control F on your keyboard and you can type it in there. If you do want to just look at every single scholarship opportunity, that's great too. We have our Community Scholarships Program flyer in English and Spanish if you want to download those and post those anywhere. We have our Common Scholarship Application step-by-step guide. That is the PowerPoint I just showed you. So this PowerPoint is on our website right now for you or students to review. We have our Common Scholarship Application practice application. So our practice application is our application just in print out version. So students can go and look at our application right now. Again, since it is the print out version, it is pretty long, but when they fill it out online, it will be much shorter. And then we do have checkout tips for a competitive scholarship application. That is a PDF with just some helpful tips for students. So this is what you would see on our website right now on December 1st at midnight. It will have all this information still, but at the top, it will have the apply here button as well. One more thing I do want to mention that is pretty cool this year, we have partnered up with CalSoap, and we have been doing scholarship nights. So we actually already had our first scholarship night. You can see we have 3 virtual events there. We had our first one on October 27th. We have 2 more. One is next week, November 18th and December 9th. We do have one in-person event at the Malcolm X Library, January 9th. The virtual events, they are from 6 to 7:30. From 6 to 7, CalSoap actually just does an overview on what a scholarship is. I know it's very intimidating to fill out scholarship applications, and it's intimidating to know what a scholarship is or what even financial aid is. So CalSoap actually goes in depth with students and families to let them know what a scholarship is. And that is the first hour. And then the half an hour after the student learns what scholarships are, then I will be presenting a very much similar presentation I just shared with you now about our Common Scholarship application. So since these presentations are for counselors, we wanted to open it up to students as well. So you can go to calsoapsandiego.org. They have a workshops page there, and you can tell your kids they can go on there by themselves or with their families, and they can sign up for these workshops that we are having this year with CalSoap. So this is just something new that we're doing this year. We are hoping to reach populations that we have not reached before, so that all the students in San Diego County can fill out our scholarship application. So if you do have any questions, please email me. Some of you might already have my Melanie M at sdfoundation.org email address, or you can email scholarships at sdfoundation.org if you have any questions after this. I saw some questions in the chat, and I know Danielle was answering them. That is the end of our presentation today. I don't know if Danielle wants to come back on just to say goodbye to you guys, but I really do appreciate everybody who has come today to help advocate for their students and share our Common Scholarship opportunities with them. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you again. We really do appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great afternoon. And there were a couple of questions in the Q&A that I answered, so I think everyone has access to that. Melanie?
I think so. I would Q&A answered. I'm pretty sure everybody can see the answers to the Q&A. If not, you guys can, if you have any other questions, anybody here joining with us today, please email scholarships@sdfoundation.org. And I will actually be following up with you all tomorrow with an email, so you can just kick it right back to me if you have any questions. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a great evening.